Hey, in this video, I want to show you how you can link EventCatalog directly to Azure Schema Registry. What this will do is pulling your schemas from Azure and actually sync them with your documentation for visualizations, for discoverability, for filtering, and all sorts of needs like that. So I'm going to show you a quick demo of how this works. So I have a blank catalog here. Actually, in fact, I'm going to quickly delete this services. But I have a blank catalog here, and what I'm going to do is go into the EventCatalog config file. This is the heart of the EventCatalog where you can configure a load of stuff. I have already installed the generator. You can find this on the documentation on the website, the Azure Schema Registry plugin. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell EventCatalog some details about the relationship of the schemas to the services and the schema registry URL. So I have my schema registry URL here, which is my public URL, and then here I have these services. So I have the order service, and as you can see here, it sends these particular messages. So in this example, it sends this order. I mean, this would normally be something like an order placed, order created, whatever else like that. I'm just using some basic naming conventions here. But we have the ID and we have the schema group, okay? So you can specify schema groups and multiple schema registries if you really want to. You can actually define that. So all I'm saying here is this service here is sending these messages and receiving these types of messages, okay? So we receive these three, we send this. The customer service microservice is sending these messages and receiving these, and so on and so on, right? So the shipment service is doing the same. So what we're doing here is we're telling EventCatalog that there are these things that exist, these microservices, or these things that are sending messages, and the schemas belong in Azure, and you are going to do the mapping for us. So how that works is I set that up, and what I'm going to run now is I'm going to run npm run generate. What this is going to do is actually generate and pull the schemas from Azure. As you can see here, it's doing that directly into our EventCatalog and create the documentation for us. So what happens here is we fetch this. You can see here that it's fetched all these schemas and all sorts of stuff, but I'll just walk you through what has happened. So EventCatalog plugin has created this folder and has created these services for us and these particular events for us, okay? So what happens here, if you're not aware of EventCatalog, it's Markdown, it's all based on Markdown. But you can see here we've got the Azure schema and then we've got the Markdown for our documentation. So the best way to really show you how this works is if I run npm run dev, what's going to happen is it's going to start EventCatalog in our browser. And then what we can do is go along to the browser and let's have a look. So here is EventCatalog. And as you can see here, we have 3 services, 6 messages, and things are starting to be documented. If we go to the documentation, we can see the order service. And if we click on the order service, we can start to see some interesting things like, okay, this service is receiving these events and publishing this type of event here. I can go through each and every one of these events, and I can actually go down and I can see the schema. So I can see what it is, but also I can use the schema viewer and we can actually start to search for properties on this schema and all sorts of things that we want. We can download the schemas, we can view in the visualizer. Clicking on this will open up a bigger picture of the schema and the services and how these services paint that bigger picture. We can also use the Schema Explorer. So this is new to EventCatalog at recording this video, but we go on here and we can actually see all the schemas that we've pulled into EventCatalog. So what I can do now is actually click on these schemas and we can see we've got the customer schema. And then I can click on this. We can actually start to filter by things. We can look at the diff. So we can see this schema here has 2 versions. If I go to Azure Schema Registry, this is what it looks like. But as you can see here, which one was it? It was the customer. I can see the customer has 2 different versions. Now what will happen here is EventCatalog will pull these in and also give you the possibility to do the diffs, right, on these particular versions. So we can see here on the left, these are the things, and on the right, these are the things that have changed. So we can see that there's a lot of deletion happened in the latest schema here on the right. We can access the schemas if we want to. We can use this to copy using the schema API to get access to that in case you wanted to. Remember, EventCatalog integrates with many different schema registries and open API, async API, and all sorts of things. So you can get access to these things here. And then we can also see the producers and consumers of this schema just by looking at this particular thing here. We can copy things, download things, and click on this button to view in full screen, or go to view the docs like that. So this is just a basic way to connect these schemas. As I said, you can use the visualizer, you can go back, you can assign owners to schemas if you really want to. I have some teams here that aren't assigned yet, but you can assign owners to schemas. That's all in the documentation. You can also go here and have a look like that. And as I said, you can map all these schemas, as many as you want, and pull them into EventCatalog. EventCatalog will take the latest 5 at the moment and map these into your documentation. What this looks like for you is if you go over to the docs, here, the project, and you can see here that we have the order service. We have the service here, which was generated for us. If you change any of this markdown content, this will also be persisted. So as you run regenerations in the future, everything will be persisted. But you can see here we're sending and receiving messages. These messages so happen to belong in here. These are so happen to be versioned and all this kind of stuff for you, right? So why this is cool is because we can then take our schemas from Azure in this kind of static location and actually bring them to life in EventCatalog. You can bring them to life in terms of documentation, discoverability. You can add schemas to domains, to owners. You can use a schema explorer. The other thing you can do is use our schemas.txt, which is like a LLM friendly way of your LLMs to get access to your schemas. So now they no longer hopefully hallucinate on this stuff. They can actually go and find the schemas that they want. For example, if I go directly to this URL here, you can see here that we have the schemas. So we're just giving LLMs access to the schemas in our repository, and the EventCatalog MCP server also handles a lot of this stuff for you, so you don't have to even manage this stuff. You just connect your MCP server to your client and you can start asking about your schemas today. So I hope you found that useful. If you want to get started, head over to the docs. And then we can do integrations. You can see Azure Schema Registry. Click on that. And then there's to walk you through how to do that. Click on this install button. You can walk through exactly how to install the plugin, configure it in your environment, get the access tokens and all this kind of stuff that you need. So if you've got any questions, leave comments below, or you can go to EventCatalog. You can go to this Discord server there. We have over 1,200 people there on Discord, and just ask any questions that you like. So I hope you find this plugin useful. You can get started and use this in your projects today. And thanks very much for watching.